Hi, this is Nathan Crane, founder of the Panacea Community, and I'm sitting here with Wade Lightheart, three-time national bodybuilding champion on a plant-based diet. And as you can see, he is a living example of somebody who really walks his talk. He is a peak performance trainer, plant-powered trainer, and he trains many people around the world how to be healthier and how to really increase their athleticism as peak performance trainers. So thanks, Wade, for being here.
Hey Nathan, great to be here. Always happy to share about the topic because there's so many myths out there. I mean, the reality is today's athlete is conditioned, 1 gram per pound of body weight, 5-6 times, they need to eat every day. They're all the carbohydrates, and then that's a pretty exact and well-known science, shall we say.
Yeah.
People understand that model and it's propagated. Now I think there's some big myths inside that industry, and I think there's some reality. So any athlete transiting over is going to go through a change and is going to have to make some adjustments in order to make that a successful transition. And I think if you do that properly, you can have an amazing transition, and you're going to find that the durability of your career, the reduction of injuries, the increase in clarity and function of the athlete will improve over time. However, when you make that transition, there is first the psychological barrier to overcome, because there's so much conditioning out there on this way to do it.
Right.
Second part is the physiological components. So people that are coming from a high protein diet, which is in vogue out there today, they have a higher protein turnover ratio.
Right.
So it's going to take a little bit of time for that to adjust. Second, the inflammatory response in the body. Much more inflammation if people are using the plant protein or the non-plant proteins, if they're using the whey proteins and the egg proteins. A lot more inflammation in the body with that. So there's going to be a reduction of water. There's going to be a change in metabolism, and you're not going to need as much protein, but you are going to need more at the start as your body starts to re-regulate and get efficient in utilizing your protein, and then you kind of gradual down, and then you check bottom out, and then you start rising up. So understanding that transition is key, and then using a few things that allow you to make that transition quickly and easily and efficiency without too big of a dip. And in fact, if you can do it right, and we've got it down pretty well, that dip is maybe a week or two, maybe 21 days where you can make that adjustment, as opposed to months and months, which it was when I did it, 13 years ago, when I first made the transition from when I came out of Mr. Universe and had that whole wipeout, and then it took me about 4 years to kind of master the components. So going back to that, what are the things that a person needs to do? Well, the first thing is, you're going to have to get used to a different satiety factor. Meat sits in the stomach a lot longer, so there's a feeling of fullness that an athlete gets comfortable with and thinks that is normal. When you first switch over to plant, you're not going to feel that.
Right.
Okay, so there's a cycle like,
why am I
not
eating
full,
all day, every day? Yeah.
Right, so that's one thing. Second thing is making sure that you've transited, if you're used to doing high protein diets and stuff, getting enough protein in your diet that you're going to get the satiety factor and keep your blood sugar stable. A lot of people, when they first switch to a raw food diet, because they're so nutrient deficient, they're just eating so much raw food because they're loading up their nutrients. And if you're at a high performance athlete, it's not so much on a cosmetic level. Like bodybuilding was more of a cosmetic look. If you're a football player, or you're a dancer, or you're a gymnast, or you're playing an organized sport, go for it. Like, really nutrify your body, and your dietary, your food consumption will drop off after 2 or 3 weeks. So oftentimes there's a spike and there's a drop off. If you're in one of the strength athletes, if you're into lifting or football or those sort of things that require a lot of repair in tissue, you want to start putting like hemp protein powder shakes inside your diet. I think is really good. Stay away from the soys and estrogen loaded stuff. I think hemp is great. It's got all your EFAs, it's got fiber, it's got all 22 amino acids. It's great.
It's amazing that you mentioned hemp, because we're sitting here at Vital Hemp here in Santa Monica, and all the clothes and everything here is actually made out of hemp. Yeah. And hemp is also really rich in omega acids.
That's right.
Which is really important for a lot of things, right? Isn't it good for inflammation? It's good for the brain. It's good for the tissue and everything.
Absolutely. I think frankly, that hemp protein, and if you look at it, it's primarily made up of edestin protein, which is the protein that makes up tissue in the body.
Yeah.
So if you actually look at it beyond the grams of protein, which is what we've been conditioned to think,
Right.
when you actually look at how much of that protein is being utilized and used by the tissues in our body, I think you'll find out that hemp is actually superior to anything else on the market. Case in point, back in the day when I was a mediator, way back in the Stone Age, I was taking in 250 to 300 grams of protein a day.
Jeez.
At a body weight of around 200 pounds, which is what I am today.
Wow.
Today, as hemp protein is just as my exclusive protein source, I'm only using 75 grams a day. And if I go into like in what I call insane training, where I'm really pumping my body to the max, I can top out at 100 and I can achieve all the muscle growth that I want, stay my body fat lean and that stuff. And you know, 50 is the low end. I've got to have at least 50. So a lot of people switch to a raw food diet and they think, well, I don't have to worry about protein because I'm getting the amino acids from the food. And that's kind of been propagated by some people in the raw food industry that aren't athletes. And I would say, no, you do need a higher amount of protein-rich foods if you are an athlete and if you are making that transition. And of course, everybody is a little bit different and metabolizes the food differently because we don't know what's going on internally. And there are ways to optimize that, which we do with our athletes and stuff. So, but again, it's not, the biggest part is getting over the psychological component.
Right.
Getting over all the market media programming and stuff like that to embrace that. And then of course, finding a mentor. I had a mentor, Dr. Michael O'Brien, helped me with the transition and I tweaked that out. That's a really essential point because the mind needs something to grab onto. I always say, if that person can do it, why can't I?
Right.
And start there.
Yeah.
You know, cut the learning curve, learn from someone who's done it, and then start working with your own body and trusting it.
And that's what you've been doing now, right? Is you've been mentoring high-performance athletes, how to go through that transition, how to sustain, and how to achieve peak performance.
Exactly. And the great news is, and this is the best part of it, once you've done it and done it properly, you can't go back because your capacity on the field or wherever you're doing your sport, whether it's in the gym, on the field, or it's just far superior. The fuel burns more efficiently, so imagine it's just switching to a higher grade fuel source. That means there's less toxic materials produced from that fuel, and that means the less buildup of toxicity in your tissue or the breakdown of tissue that leads to injury. And if you look historically, just take a look at example historically of all the vegetarian high performance athletes, almost all of them had way longer careers than their peers in sports. And I'm talking, we're in hockey, tennis, basketball, track and field, football.
Interesting.
Tony Gonzalez just retired recently in the NFL. I mean, he was one of the linemen, you know. So you're talking about very physical. You need a super strong and one of the great, I think the greatest tight end of all time. You know, very physical position and being a vegetarian. And then you have guys like Carl Lewis or Navratilova, or you can go down the list, Bill Pearl, you know, the bodybuilding champion. So start with excellence and recognize that it is possible and it's possible for you. And you just need to do a few little steps and it's a lot of fun. And at the end side, you're probably going to extend your career longer.
And your life and quality of life too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, awesome, Wade. Well, thank you. Now, how can people get in touch with you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, really simple. I mean, you can just go to wadelightheart.com or wadelightheart.ca, either or Google me. You'll get to my site. Opt in, and what we do is we actually give you a little booklet, kind of explain some of the things that I do. We have a little awesome health formula. And inside that, I start sharing with you through a series of emails the integrations that I've made along the way with myself and my clients and my athletes, and how you, the consumer, can make a better transition and kind of embrace a more plant-powered lifestyle. And even if you're not going 100% plant, maybe you just want to add a little bit more plant or a little bit more alkalinity, you're welcome too, because it's going to make that a much easier integration. So,
and more raw food as well.
Absolutely. Well, that's part of, when I think
when
plant,
you plant, you're thinking raw.
Yeah. So it's a natural. It's kind of the natural evolution.
Right.
And as your body gets cleaner and more vibrant, it just kind of this kind of like this endless.
It just demands
fun.
it, right?
It demands it, and you feel the difference, and then it becomes self-correcting. I say you don't have to worry about it. Your body just says, "Oh, well, I want this instead of this." And there's no no magazine has to tell you, or no news media, or no expert.
Right.
Your own intuitive intelligence
Exactly.
will draw you to what your body requires.
Absolutely, yeah. So there you have it. More hemp protein and more raw foods, more whole plant-based foods in your diet, and ultimately you're going to feel better and perform better. So thank you so much. Do us a favor, click the like button below this video, leave us your comments and questions, and share this with your community. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you for an awesome interview.
Real pleasure.
All right,
Real pleasure.
brother.
Thank you.
Thank you.